Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 46A. I'm starting the book of Daniel. And today it's 62 degrees outside. It's February 5th. Just last week, just a couple days ago, it was 17 degrees. And everything was frozen. I missed a few days of work. So I couldn't get down. I live on top of a hill. I couldn't get down the hill safely. Rather than risk an accident, I just stay home, lose money. But I had bought a Ford Explorer, four-wheel drive, and it wouldn't make it either. So I need something like a Subaru or a Honda CR-V. So I'll try to get another car, but right now I can't. Anyway, this is episode 46A, and starting in the book of Daniel. Then I'll go back next week to Genesis, and if anything unusual comes up, like that, the last 5 episodes of the Great Whore Babylon, determined it wasn't the United States. Although we met a lot of the standards. Anyway. So here we go. The book of Daniel. Daniel's name is significant, and Dan means judge, E means my, and L means God. So his name is meant to mean God is my judge. God is my judge. Daniel acted accordingly to his name. He didn't worship Belshazzar. He didn't worship Darius. He didn't worship Nebuchadnezzar. He was obedient to the rulers, as Christians are supposed to be. But his one true allegiance was to God. He was worried about God judging him as opposed to men. So we should remember that all men, we're not all equal, but none of us should be worshipped. Don't worship any men or women. Okay. It says, Daniel, many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Daniel 12, verse 2 and 3. So, if you're not an Old Testament Israelite whose name meant God is my judge, I'm sorry, if you were an Old Testament Israelite whose name meant God is my judge, several assumptions could be made. First, you were probably raised in a godly home. Second, you would supposedly have a strong commitment to obeying God. And third, you could anticipate that life would present tests that would prove your vindication before God in the face of staunch opposition. All of those assumptions were true of a young man in Jerusalem named Daniel. Even as a young man, a teenager, perhaps, he was intelligent, well-trained, and God-fearing. He was likely raised in a well-to-do home and educated in the Word of God and the ways of man. We know this because he was among the first captives, the cream of the crop, taken from Jerusalem to Babylon in 605 BC. In Babylon, his commitment to God was tested repeatedly, and he passed every test, as did his 3 friends who were taken captive with him. Oh yes, I remember about this. So him and his 3 friends were like not from the hood, not from middle class. They were upper middle class to wealthy. They were like modern day university students, used to the finer things, well educated, and good genetics, and good values. And this was recognized by the Babylonians, and these 4 men were separated to be used as intermediaries. When a ruler takes over a new area, a new city, a wise thing to do is to pull out some well-respected people from that community and enlist their participation somehow, so that you don't have so much rebellion, so much people opposing you. And you enlist these local people to communicate with, and as go-betweens, they tell you, oh, you can't close down this water fountain because that is of holy significance to these people. If you close down this water fountain, they'll commit suicide, or they'll attack you, or they won't work, you know, certain things. And anytime you go to a different society, you need to know their little idiosyncrasies that don't necessarily make sense. So these 4 students were separated for that purpose in Babylon. They were the cream of the crop, taken from Jerusalem to Babylon in 605 BC. In Babylon, his commitment to God was tested repeatedly, and he passed every test, as did his 3 friends who were taken captive with him: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their new Babylonian names. Once Daniel was removed from Jerusalem, he never returned. Over the course of his long life in Mesopotamia, he learned firsthand about the rise and fall of the world's most powerful kingdoms, serving most of his life in the royal court of Babylon, and spending his final years serving Persian kings. Daniel's pagan captors singled Daniel out for having incredible wisdom and gifts from God, especially the ability to interpret dreams and visions. Daniel and his 3 friends were happy to use their training, intelligence, and spiritual gifts, so long as their service did not compromise their faithfulness to God. What it says: a kingdom without no end. Rather than a strictly chronological account of Daniel's and his friends' ministry, the book's 12 chapters are better viewed as a group of 6 narratives, 1 through 6, and 4 visions, books 7 through 12. The narratives in the first half of the book contain several well-known stories and exploits: the diet experiment, the miraculous interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, the 3 friends in the fiery furnace, Nebuchadnezzar's madness, the mysterious handwriting on the wall, and Daniel in the lion's den. The apocalyptic visions in the second half of the book concern the meaning of the 4 beasts in Book 7, the ram and the goat, Book 8, the prophecy of the 77s in Book 9, and the prophecies of Israel's futures in Books 10 through 12. These narratives and visions show God's miraculous work through Daniel and his friends, as well as their commitment to honoring God above all else. At the heart of Daniel's towering visions was the movement of earthly kingdoms. Daniel saw the Babylonian kingdom replaced by the Persian by the Greek, and the Greek kingdom by the Roman kingdom, exactly as it happened in history. But his most important vision was the eventual establishment of a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, a kingdom that shall break in pieces and consume all these previous kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Daniel 2:44. All else in Daniel points to the sovereign rule of God in the affairs of men. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and rises up kings. Through Daniel, God showed the world that it is the kingdom of his Son, the one like the Son of Man, whose kingdom shall have no end. Daniel book 7, 13 and 14. That is the end of 46a. Now we're going to go on to 46b.